In 2009, Tom Dwan did something no poker pro had ever done before. He put his money and his reputation on the line in a challenge so bold it shook the high-stakes poker world. But while one challenge cemented his legacy, the other became one of poker's biggest scandals. Discover why this duel continues to intrigue and divide the poker community 15 years later. Tom Dwan joined Full Tilt Poker in 2007, and by 2009 he had established himself as one of the best online poker players, earning the title of the King of No Limit Hold'em. Dwan became so dominant that finding action at the high-stakes tables became a challenge, as few were willing to face him. To stir up the action, Dwan took an unprecedented step. He issued an open challenge to the entire poker community known as the Durrrr Challenge. The rules of the challenge were straightforward. Any player, except for Phil Galfond, whom Tom considered too good of a friend to compete against, would take him on in a heads-up battle across 4 tables. The game would be No Limit Hold'em and Pot Limit Omaha, played over 50,000 hands at a minimum of 200-400 stakes. Each player had to maintain a stack of at least 75 big blinds, and if effective stacks exceeded 250 big blinds, they could switch tables. At the end of the 50,000 hands, whoever was in profit would also win a bonus payout. Tom offered an aggressive 3-to-1 side bet, wagering $1.5 million against his opponent's $500,000. This wasn't just a massive financial proposition. It was a high-stakes call to battle in a game where defending one's reputation was everything. Here is the challenge from Dwan himself.
50,000 hands of 200, 400 or higher, no limit or PLO. I put up 1.5 million on the side to anyone's 500,000. And if you're up $1, you keep that. And if you're up $1 million, you keep the million plus the side bet. And I'm doing it just to try to create some action because I don't get people playing more than 2 tables heads up usually, and even 2 tables a lot of times not for too long. So got some action and hopefully it'll work out good.
January 5, 2009. Card Player reported that Patrik Antonius was the first to accept the Durrrr Challenge. Phil Ivey also confirmed his participation, while David Benjamin expressed strong interest in joining. February 18, 2009. The Durrrr Challenge officially begins. Dwan is given 8 tables on Full Tilt Poker specifically for the challenge. The 2 players play 1,541 hands, and Dwan leaves with a profit of $134,000. February 22, 2009. The challenge continues, but Tom makes a statement that is very likely the cause for the extraordinary amount of time the challenge will take to complete. He told Patrik that if a bigger or juicier game, whether online or live, was available, he would always prioritize it over their match. After roughly 10,000 hands with a little major action, the challenge saw its first major swing. Tom Dwan, who had been down $400,000, erased the deficit in just 2 hours, cutting it down to $30,000. June 9th, 2009, one of the biggest days in the challenge in terms of pot sizes. 4 of the 5 largest pots up to that point were played in a single session, including the biggest, a massive $480,000 hand won by Patrik Antonius when his flopped queens full of 6s crushed Dwan's 6s full of 9s. However, Dwan dominated the other massive pots of the session, walking away with a staggering $750,000 profit after 15 hours of play. October 7, 2009. After an intense 8-month grind, Dwan and Patrik reached the halfway mark of the Durrrr Challenge during a 1,000 hand session. By this point, Dwan had built a commanding lead of approximately $700,000 over Patrik. November 8, 2009. Dwan's high-stakes exploits, both in the challenge and across other major games, including high-stakes poker, had made him one of the most marketable names in poker. Recognizing his star power, Full Tilt Poker officially signed him as an FTP Pro, cementing his status as one of the game's biggest faces. November 17th to 19th, 2009. Dwan took his $1 million challenge from the virtual felt to the live arena, facing off against 3 formidable opponents: Ilary Sahamias, Marcelo, and Sammy George. The challenge format was a 500 hand match at 500 1,000 stakes, with players unable to leave unless they completed all 500 hands or lost $500,000. Dwan experienced a small loss of $22,000 against Marcelo, secured a solid $70,000 win against Zygmunt, and completely dismantled Sammy George, winning a staggering $750,000. January 28, 2010, the Durrrr Challenge resumed for its first session of the year, and after 1,280 hands, Antonius booked a modest $58,000 win. However, his overall night at the tables was anything but successful, as he had already suffered an $800,000 loss to Cole South and Ilary Sahamias earlier in the session. The resurgence of high-stakes action on Full Tilt Poker provided to be a major obstacle in the challenge's progress, with nosebleed games running regularly featuring names like Victor Blom, Zygmunt, and Cole South. Both Dwan and Antonius often prioritized those massive cash games over their heads-up battle. March 14, 2010. Another short session took place, but with a month-long gap since the previous match, speculation been swirling on the 2+2 forum whether Patrik Antonius was considering conceding the Durrrr Challenge. By this point, Tom Dwan's lead had grown dangerously close to the $2 million mark. April 27 to 29, 2010. Play resumed on consecutive days, including an intense 2,700 hand marathon on the 28th, temporarily silencing the rumors of Antonius giving up. However, what seemed like a resurgence of the challenge turned out to be a false dawn. This session ended up being the last for nearly 4 months, largely due to Tom Dwan's massive WSOP bets and other distractions pulling him away from the tables. July 19, 2010. Tom Dwan played a session against Daniel Cates on Full Tilt Poker. Afterwards, Tom extended an invitation for Cates to take on the Durrrr Challenge, while also mentioning that Brian Townsend was already in line to play. Dwan expressed his desire to wrap up these challenges before the WSOP Europe, even claiming he could finish his challenge with Daniel in just 2 weeks, an ambitious estimate considering his ongoing challenge with Patrik Antonius had nearly dragged for 1.5 years. August 3, 2010. The Durrrr Challenge finally resumed, with Dwan delivering another crushing blow to Patrik. In just 182 hands, Dwan racked up an additional $460,000 in winnings, pushing his total lead past the $2 million mark after 39,436 hands. Despite Antonius' best efforts, he simply couldn't keep up with Dwan's relentless aggression, compounded by the brutal variance of Pot Limit Omaha. With nearly 40,000 hands played and facing a staggering $2 million deficit, Patrik decided to cut his losses and concede the challenge. While the exact terms of his early exit remain unknown, it's safe to say that Dwan's already massive winnings came with a lucrative side bonus, making his victory even sweeter. In an interview, Patrik Antonius acknowledged that he had made a mistake in the Durrrr Challenge, explaining that he had agreed to play 4 tables simultaneously despite having never done so before and without any prior practice.
So the most I played ever heads up was 2 tables at once. All the credit to Tom. I mean, he was a tough matchup for me, but I really should have practiced to play 4 tables. I guess I could say that I was pretty cocky and arrogant regarding my I had just a massive confidence on my poker that I would beat anyone in anything those days. And let's just say that's my excuse of losing, that I couldn't handle 4 tables at once. I was too many times pressured by the time.
After the completion of this challenge, Tom Dwan cemented his status as the ultimate end boss on Full Tilt Poker. But 2009 wasn't all luck and profits for Tom Dwan. Rumors swirled that he had taken some heavy losses in No Limit Hold'em games, particularly against Luke Schwartz and more notably against the mysterious Isildur I. At the time, his reputation as one of the best No Limit Hold'em players was questioned. But Tom made up his losses just a year later, winning over $9 million between December of 2009 and April of 2010. Tom Dwan made most of it in high-variance PLO matches against players like Ilary Sahamias and Gus Hansen. With his confidence at an all-time high, Tom Dwan accepted Daniel Cates' challenge in 2010, marking the second installment of the Durrrr challenge. This time, however, Tom Dwan found himself in deep waters. Daniel Cates decided to play No Limit Hold'em against Tom Dwan, and it quickly became apparent that Cates had a considerable edge over his opponent. And after 19,400 hands, Tom Dwan was down more than $1 million. The more Tom lost, the harder it became for Cates to bring him back to the tables. Dwan appeared to be stalling, and his reluctance to continue may have been influenced by his eventual split from Full Tilt Poker in 2012. Rumors circulated that his sponsorship deal included covering a substantial portion of the $1.5 million side bet if he lost, giving Tom Dwan even more incentive to avoid finishing the match. Despite being known for his straightforward nature, Tom Dwan never officially declared the challenge over, leaving the poker world in limbo. As the years passed, only minimal progress was made. By 2013, just 1,500 additional hands were played, with Daniel Cates winning another $200,000. The unfinished challenge became one of poker's longest-running sagas, fueling endless debates and speculation, and has been called one of the biggest scams in poker by Doug Polk.
What happened with Tom Dwan and Jungle Man was a scam, in my opinion. Dwan and Jungle Man were both supposed to escrow to Phil Ivey for the Durrrr challenge. Jungle Man escrowed to Phil Ivey, and Tom Dwan did not, despite saying that he did. After that, there's just been a slew of excuses as to why he can't play, or Full Tilt did something wrong, or something happened, and it's been indefinitely postponed. And I think at this point, it's pretty fair to say it's unlikely to ever resume. In my opinion, that is fucked up, and that should not be tolerated by the poker community. So this money disappearing and not being paid to Jungle Man is, in my personal opinion, the biggest scam that has ever happened for an individual in poker.
On the other hand, Daniel Cates remained surprisingly patient and supportive of Tom Dwan throughout the ordeal. He repeatedly assured the poker community that the challenge would eventually be completed despite the years of delays. Cates also explained that Tom Dwan had some financial problems he needed to sort out, and that he paid as much as $800,000 as a fine for not being able to play the challenge. In August of 2018, a 2+2 forum post featured a screenshot of an online chat where Daniel Cates allegedly informed high-stakes pro Ilary Sahamias that Dwan would forfeit the challenge by the end of the month. However, that deadline passed without any resolution. While many have since lost hope of seeing the match completed, Daniel Cates remained optimistic against all odds. Dwan has never responded publicly to the regular callouts from Daniel Cates, such as with this one when Dwan was named Triton Poker Ambassador in 2018. In 2021, Cates once again called out Dwan on Twitter. Later that day, Cates posted another reply in which he stated that the duo had reached an agreement. Tom Dwan's reputation undoubtedly took a hit during his prolonged avoidance of the Durrrr challenge against Cates. If he has the money, why not end it and salvage some of his reputation? This question fired up some rumors about Tom Dwan being broke, but that seemed to have been greatly exaggerated.
He owes about $30 million.
30 million? That's what you heard?
30 million.
Christ. Oh my God.
And so when these people pop up and they owe him, he owes them a couple hundred K.
Yeah, but like pay off the couple hundred K.
Well, but maybe the people with the bigger balances are people that you really would want to make sure they get paid.
Neither Daniel Cates nor Tom Dwan are particularly active on social media, making official updates on the Durrrr challenge scarce. However, given the credibility of the 2+2 forum and the reported online chat, there is little reason to doubt that Dwan has quietly forfeited. This means fans will likely never see the Durrrr challenge reach a proper conclusion, leaving one of poker's greatest grudge matches unfinished. During the recent Tom Dwan controversy involving Peter Jetton, Jungleman kind of stood up for Tom Dwan. I have realized that, in fact, he does intend on paying back his debts and has worked tirelessly towards that. I think he has made a lot of mistakes, but also had some effed up things happen to him, and I think it's important to focus on the most mutually beneficial outcome. The reason behind Daniel and Tom's sudden cordiality is unclear at the moment. Speculation suggests that perhaps Tom has begun compensating Jungleman, leading to improved relations between them. What could have been pictured as the perfect marketing deal for Full Tilt Poker ultimately never fulfilled its potential and damaged the reputation of one of the most famous poker players of all time.